Hello, it's Maddie and Mieke from The Thriving Mindset, your go to podcast for real talk, deep growth, and the tools to empower you to thrive. From challenges dealing with self doubt, fears, to breakthroughs, we've been there and we're here to share what we've learned along the way. So, success really looks very shiny on the outside, the milestones, the wins, the glow ups. What we don't talk about often enough are the quiet moments in between, the loneliness that creeps in when you outgrow your old life, the emotional cost of expansion, and the parts of the journey that you might not want to share on social media. In today's episode, we're exploring the unspoken stories behind success, the highs, the lows, and the evolution that happens in between. We'll deal with questions like, what success stories aren't we telling enough in entrepreneurship? What does success really mean as we grow? And how do we navigate the moments that feel both beautiful and brutal at the same time? So, I really like to, this is such an inspiring and very exciting topic for both of us, right? I think, especially when you're in your 30s or in your 40s, you go through life and at one point you realize that, ooh, what you used to think of success may have changed. So, before we dive deeper, I'd really love to start by asking you the question, Mika. What success stories do you believe are we not telling enough in entrepreneurship?
So this is super cool. The last time when we met, we wanted to prepare this session, right? And we had this. I mentioned this picture to you that once this was way at the beginning of my entrepreneurship journey. I saw this picture and I thought it's so perfect. I wish I could show it now, but I would have had to print it or something. But it was basically an iceberg. And you saw the top, so icebergs in real life, you see the 20%, like you see the tip of the iceberg, and the rest of the iceberg actually is under the water, and that's 80%. And this image was basically like also like an iceberg. You saw 20% on top, and it was like joy, freedom, money, wealth, blah, and so on. And the 80% is actually like anxiousness, tiredness, hustle, failures. And it's like all these, like, how much. So basically, that success is really rooted. And I think you mentioned that to me last time, that like it's the basis of success is basically going through this kind of growth pain or these like setbacks or failures or whatever. And the one thing that we really never talk about, or we don't talk about enough in entrepreneurship, regarding success is these 80%, like really that 80% that's happening. So that's like the fundament of the success that you have. That's like the shiny, the shiny gold star on top. And I'm super excited because I think we're going to go deeper into like our different like success stories and the way we see success. So I won't continue on that, but I wanted to start with that because I thought it was such a powerful image. But the other thing that I feel like we hardly talk about in entrepreneurship is basically when we look at success, we always like think about like the unicorns, the $1 billion exits, like the flashy founders, and like it's really like we see like this like, oh, it's like over the night magic, and you've made it and so on, and that's something that's so like tied to entrepreneurship. But there's so many beautiful other stories that around founders, and I just want to name a few. Like one, for example, that I really like is like the small but mighty wins, and it's kind of like these people that they create like really profitable small or mid-sized businesses, and they employ people, they support their families, and they strengthen communities, and it's like when we see entrepreneurship, we don't think about these. And examples can be like, I don't know, a local bakery around the corner that's doing really well for itself, and that's an entrepreneur. And that's such a beautiful like way of like entrepreneurship. Or another like really important part of entrepreneurship that I actually work with a lot are like these like unsung heroes of impact. So it's really like social enterprises, and it's people that like work with such a strong impact driven motivation, and that through their solutions they create so much success beyond revenue. Like they create so much impact, and they help climate tech, they help med tech, they ed tech, and like all these different like impact driven businesses that we hardly talk about because it's not the flashy $1 billion VC kind of typical entrepreneur thing. And the third category that I really like is like the everyday entrepreneurs, and that's like coaches, or it's people who create like side hustles, or people that, you know, have like kind of like they create businesses that give them the autonomy, the flexibility, and that really, you know, create freedom for themselves, and they are everyday entrepreneurs, and I love it. It's like all these like, yeah, different kind of these different kind of categories. And I'm sure also for you, because you work together, you also work together with founders, right? And you work together also with like other entrepreneurs and stuff. What do you think are like stories that we don't talk about enough?
Mm, thank you. So first of all, I just wanted to mention one thing that I had to think about as you were sharing. I really love how you mentioned like the, as you call it, like the small profitable businesses. So yes, when people think about success, they're like, I don't know, you're the owner of Amazon, or like, you know, some like
Yeah.
huge like
Yeah.
company, or like a chain of companies or whatever. But um, I had to think of like, yeah, I love that you mentioned like, oh, what about like the small bakery in the
Yeah.
neighborhood or something? Especially, I think a lot of people nowadays are more focused on conscious consumption, and it's like really, really key to really support these smaller or
Yeah.
mid-sized businesses. So that's just one thing that popped into my head that I quickly wanted to share before I also answer the question. So for me, I believe, and I agree with everything that you said, by the way. For me, I think, yeah, like a lot of people have this simplified um, version, or idea of success, this like before and after.
Yeah.
But I think we often forget like the messy part inside, like the parts that are, yeah, that are challenging, where you deal with fears, where you deal with self-doubt. And I think two things, I would like to highlight two things. So the first is, um, success requires continued growth and resilience, and it comes with challenges. And a lot of people think about success like, ooh, overnight success. You worked like 3 months and now you have this amazing business. And there are a lot of, honestly, like business coaches that, or marketing coaches that kind of advertise like that. Once you
Mm.
work with me, like you're going to have your 10K in like the 3 months. I think personally, most of the time that's over promising, because success really does not happen overnight. And success is success, but I love this. It's a Korean quote:
Mm.
failure is the mother of success. And I think I've mentioned this before. There is no success without failure.
Yeah.
And success requires you to fail again and again. And even when you've reached success, and people on the outside might think like, oh, this person is so successful. This person will not be succeeding all the time. You fail, you succeed. You have your wins, you know, your highs and your lows. You're not going to get to this point where you are successful for the
Yeah.
rest of your life. That doesn't really happen, right? So there's always
Unfortunately
like these
not.
wins.
No.
That would be great, but there's always these wins, but then there's always these setbacks, these mistakes that you make, these failures that you go through. Um, but as we talked about in a previous episode, like these failures are actually feedback, like they help you grow, right? So they're not something that you need to shy away or necessarily be afraid of, but they're really, I think, inevitable part of any success story. And I think the second thing that we don't talk enough about when it comes to talking about success is the emotional cost. I think it's
Mm.
very often overlooked. Like really gaining success and really chasing your dream, or going after your vision and creating it and making it your reality. In between, like when you're on that journey, it does get lonely. You do
Yeah.
need to make bigger changes in your life. You need to change your patterns, maybe even your lifestyle. There's, of course, a lot of that pressure that also comes with all of the responsibility. And especially when we talk about self employment or founding a business, like that comes with a lot of pressure and responsibility. And on top of that, there's always like fear of failure, maybe fear of judgment, fear of making a mistake, and also dealing with uncertainty. And this is one of the things that I think anyone who gets into entrepreneurship has to learn how to navigate. You have to be able to deal with uncertainty, because
Yeah.
when you go into business, there is no certainty. So you better find a way, or find different ways to deal with that uncertainty, because otherwise it's going to be very, very painful. So I would say, to highlight that again, the emotional cost that comes with building success is very often overlooked, and people often just try to talk about the glow ups and the wins, but then everything comes with a cost.
You know,
So, Hmm.
It's so good because I think that emotional part is really it is overlooked and really forgotten because it's also it's such an operator's momentum, or what do you call it? I mean, emotions drive you, right? So they can drive you in both directions. So it's really, and we've talked a lot about the topic of emotion, right? And I just had to, when you were talking, I just had to think about two more points. And one is, nobody talks about the boring stuff, right? Like bookkeeping. I hate bookkeeping.
Right.
It's so boring. And I think it's like, I don't know, I don't want to put a number on it, but a big percentage is really boring. It's like kind of like,
Yeah.
yeah, creating, invoices and, oh my God,
Yeah.
tweaking your logo and like, oh, things, some people love doing it, but whatever, like kind of the boring part. Yeah, so that's really also often forgotten. And the other thing, sorry, you wanted to say something
No, no,
to
no, no,
it,
please.
yeah, yeah. And the other thing, we were talking about this the other day on a not on the podcast, but on like on private. We talk privately too, so yeah, we were talking
A
privately
lot.
about it, and I did a course, and it was a course about like um it was a course about like, I don't know, different laws of, not, I don't want to say the universe, but different laws of being, kind of. And one thing is, when you work for things, you could really appreciate them, right? And that's why so many people that, like, for example, win the lottery, they have the money and they're miserable after a year. And we've talked about this before, right? But that's entrepreneurship as well. It's like, because I just said to you before, like, oh, it's too bad that success doesn't happen overnight. No, it's actually good, because that way you can really appreciate it, right? You can really, like, you can really enjoy that moment because you've worked for it. So it's actually really important to do the boring stuff and to do all that, like, in between. Yeah.
I love that you pointed it out because it's so true. Like, when I think about it, yes, there are so many tasks that I have to do that are related, to my job. Like for me personally, it's like the administrative stuff. Like it's just not my thing, or like the
Yeah.
tech stuff, right? So yes, I love being a coach and whatnot, but then there's, yeah, a lot of the work that you have to do is not like the things that you're necessarily the most excited about.
Yeah.
And also, it's funny because I travel around a lot. I meet a lot of people, and then they're like, "What do you do?" Of course, I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a mindset coach for high achievers. I'm here now, but I'm like traveling there next month." And everyone is always like, "Oh, it's such a cool life. So you're traveling around and you're basically on vacation." And I'm like,
Mm,
"No, I'm actually working. Like I go to these gorgeous places, but I'm actually working." And people think I'm just like going to the pool and like jump in a call in between. But yeah, there's a big part of success, or your work, that people don't see, and people tend to focus on the shiny things. But yes, there are things that we all have to deal with that are not so shiny, but we do them because it's part of the job, and it's at the end it gets us where we want to get to.
totally. Yeah.
So diving a bit deeper into that, I'd love to ask you, what was your highest moment maybe, and what was your lowest low, speaking about ups and downs of entrepreneurship?
Oh yeah, I really like this question because I think it's so important, and I like that it's both sides, right? That it's low and high, because there's no high without low, and there's no low without high, and I think it's so important to really highlight both of them. So I'm going to start with low, because I feel like, yeah, I want to start with low, and then I'm going to climb up high, and yeah, go
Yay!
into that. Yeah. So I think, so when I really thought about this question, there were a few moments, but like my lowest low point was actually, this was at the beginning of my, well, I would say like my first quarter of being an entrepreneur or being self-employed. And I had this amazing gig, and I was organizing. So you have to understand, or the background to this is, so I'm an absolute education nerd. And I'm really like, when I started, I was all about like, I want to change education. I want to, I want to have the network. I want to be with all the people that are doing something within education and so on. And I had this gig, and I was doing exactly that. I was like hired to network. I was hired to like build up this huge booth for an education fair, and it was like a startup village with 20 ed techs, and I was just like, wow, it's so cool. I'm in the middle of everything and so on. And the problem, however, is I wasn't being paid properly for it, so I had to take on other jobs, so I could still, sustain myself, and I could still feed myself. And I remember so well at the mid. So this was a fair that went on for a week, and I remember so well, like in like day 2 or 3. It was something like there was a startup party on our booth, and I had to like check the electricity or something, and I was like climbing down under the table, and I was like looking for the plug, and for a second there, I just laid there and I just started crying because I was so exhausted. And I was so like, what am I doing here? And I was so like, everything just, and it was because of a stupid plug that I had to like, plug. But everything was just like, and I was under this table and around me, everyone was having a blast. And I was just like, I felt so lonely. I felt so like lost. I felt it was really like, it was a moment of really, yeah, and that towards the outside and also in hindsight, I can really say it was such an important moment, because it made me realize I can't do this anymore. Yes, my heart wants to network and wants to be with all these people and wants to work and work and work, but not if I don't have the pay, and not if I have to focus on other jobs and I really have to like be on and do all these things. And yeah, so that was like a very low moment, or I would say even one of my lowest moments. And I don't know, to end the story, I basically wiped away my tears and I was just like, okay, whatever. I gathered myself again. I didn't show anyone that I cried, and I figured out the plug thing. I don't know, did my quickly, smudged to put my makeup away, and I went back out there and I was like, hey, it's all good. And yeah, and it was really, yeah. And I remember also when I drove back home with the train, I was just like, nah. And yeah, that was definitely a very, very low moment. But the beautiful thing is, after that, I was like, okay, I'm not compromising on money anymore. I need to really figure out and do the gigs that I can do that also will pay me, and not just because, yeah. But still, it was really, yeah, it was really a very awkward moment for me, and a very, yeah, very crappy moment in my entrepreneurship. But definitely, I felt the pain there.
Also sounds, sorry, like a beautiful breakthrough moment though, and like turning point, because then you realize, okay, I need to get paid properly for what I do.
And
So beautiful lesson, painful experience.
totally, and not in the moment, right? In the moment, I was just like, oh
Right,
no,
right.
quickly, okay, get away of the tears and da da da, and but it took a while for it to sink in and for me to understand, and I think that's also because in that moment I was, yeah, you're just so emotional and you're just so like. So yeah, but definitely afterwards came a very, yeah, and it came a good point. And maybe also as a little side thing, the moment I understood my worth, because it was actually my husband back then that helped me. We were dating still, and it was like he helped me like figure out what's your daily rate. How can let's calculate how much do you want to work, how much do you want to earn, how many like clients do you want, da 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 da. Do you want different rates, corporate, da da da, and so on. And he really helped me understand it. And only once I understood my worth, I was able to ask for that daily rate. So that's, yeah, so that also came into that whole like moment. And yeah, so that was actually also kind of cool. But only in hindsight, not at the moment.
Right.
Yes. And yeah, and one of my highest moments, there's also so many high moments. I really have to say that's the beautiful thing. Those 20% of the iceberg that I mentioned at the beginning, they feel super, super strong, right? And that's why I think we feel the success or whatever, they feel so strong. The 80% also feel strong, but somehow, and I think it's a psychological thing, maybe you know it better, but we remember positively more the past than we remember the negative. I think it's like
Positive bias.
right? It's like unless your program maybe differently or whatever, but I think it's in general, or a lot of people, yeah, remember the highs better. Anyway, so my highest point was definitely doing a TED talk or a TEDx talk 2 years ago. And the reason it was so cool is because I got to speak about the transformation of our education system, and how only through education, like if we change our system, we can also contribute to climate change, we can contribute to finding solutions to basically any problem that we have in the world, because the fundament is education. And the reason this was such a high moment is 3 reasons. Number one, of course, being super proud because you're being recognized. I mean, TEDx is like, it's a cool thing. You're being recognized. You're being asked as an expert to come and to speak about something, and it made me super proud that I was able to do that. And the second thing that made me super proud is also kind of like this, that I had all this knowledge that I could share, like that through my entire entrepreneurship, and I've been working now for over 10 years in this field, and there was like over 7 years, and I had so much knowledge that I had to put into a talk, and that was really, really, yeah, it was really a beautiful moment because because I really understood, like, hey, you really know a lot. That's really cool. Yeah, and the third thing was actually, it was just really beautiful because I saw in the crowd was my family, so my husband and my little son and even my mom. And the funny thing is, like, my mom never understood what I did, even though it was like, hey, education, and I'm changing it. She's like, okay. She doesn't understand it, but you could really see that she understood, and she was also so, yeah, she was so proud, and and no external validation, yes, no, whatever, but that was a really beautiful moment, and to have, like, yeah, have them there. And my son was 3 or 2.5, so he's just like speaking, but like baby speaking, whatever. And he came afterwards when I got off the stage. He came like, "Mommy's changing education," and like in a very like baby way. And I was like, "Oh!" And like, of course, my husband told him to say, not just told him to say that, but he was just trying to understand. And it was just, yeah. See, even though I'm like, I could get tears from that because, yeah, it was just a really beautiful moment that you get to share what you know with the people that you love, but with also a community of people. And yeah, that's definitely a beautiful high moment. Yeah.
Oh, I'm getting
Yeah.
goosebumps
Me
because I was
too.
literally imagining you like coming off stage and
Yeah.
then your son being like,
Yeah.
"Mommy, you're making you're
Yeah.
changing
And
education."
not that he
Because I
gets
also
it.
remember that we were sending voice notes as you were preparing for the TED Talk, so I'm like, wow, yeah,
And the
right.
day before, when I stood on the stage, you have like a final rehearsal, and I forgot everything. And that was like, I was standing on that stage, and I came, I think I also sent you a voice message. I came off that stage, and I was just crying because I was like, I know nothing, and it's going to be the next day. And so, yeah, it was a very cool, actually, a very cool journey. But I definitely, it was a good talk. It was really a good talk. Yeah. All
And
right.
you crushed it at the
Yes.
end.
Maddie, what about you? I would love to hear many of
Yeah.
your high and low moments, and I know many of them already, but yes, for our lovely audience, tell me.
Yes, yeah. It's hard to pick. It's hard to pick. But because like, yeah, that's just our brains. We talk about it a lot, right? Someone is like, choose this one thing, like your favorite something, and I'm like, you're already thinking of like 10 things.
Yeah.
So I think like high moments, it's more difficult to choose because there are so many that I can think of. Low moments, or lowest moments or challenging moments. I think for me, one I would more name it like maybe like a phase than like one
Hmm.
particular moment. I don't have like one memory like of like a
Yeah.
specific like day or time during the day, but I remember there was a phase when there were like months of not signing new clients, and I was very overwhelmed without a clear like marketing and sales strategy. And I was like, I already knew I worked with clients. I knew that this was like what I wanted to do, my passion. So I was like, I'm an amazing coach, I know that, but like I cannot be a
Yeah.
coach without clients. I mean, right? So you need to find clients somehow. And I remember, like, I was still on social media, I was still trying out different things, but then I guess some like the frustration of putting in a lot of work and then not having tangible outcomes or reaching your goals, in this case, like finding clients. Um, and that made me really, of course, like your mind races, right? So it's like self doubt kicked in, like, oh my god, am I actually gonna make it? Like, are clients ever gonna sign with me again? Even though I had clients sign with me before and after, but there are these moments when your mind is like playing tricks on you, and it's like, or like, yeah, the fear of dealing with uncertainty. I feel like
Mm.
that was also a big thing. Like, not like you're putting in a tons of work, but you actually don't know when you will sign clients. So dealing with uncertainty and lack of stability also, right? Because then
Yeah.
you look at your friends and they're like, yeah, the corporate jobs, monthly income, and you're like, yeah, I'm hustling like crazy, but yeah.
Yeah.
Lack of financial stability. So I remember that being like a challenge, I guess. But it wasn't like a specific moment, as I said, that I can remember. But there was a phase, and I still go through these thoughts, like similar thoughts, like in between. So I think this is also kind of like relates to like what does a success journey look like? Doesn't mean that you have it all figured out at one point. It's like yay, woo. Like you have these highs and lows, right? And uncertainty, self doubt, and fear can even kick in after you've reached certain milestones, right? In between. So I think that is one thing. I don't know if the second point I wanted to share, it's also not like a specific moment, I guess, but I remember what was challenging for me is was not being understood by my family members.
Yeah.
Like basically like drastically changing career, like yeah, PhD in political science. Then I was like, well, working for financial tech, they're already a little like, okay, that's a big change. And then change, and then like, oh, I'm becoming self-employed and I'm gonna become
Yeah.
a coach. And they were like, why are you throwing away like all of the education and like all of the work experience that you have to do something completely new? Why would you give up financial stability? Like, why do you want to become self-employed? Because my parents are not self-employed; they worked in education. Sister definitely also like corporate job. So I feel like I was the oddball in the family, and they just didn't get me. And for me, it was so easy to understand. I was like, well, I wasn't fulfilled. Like, this is what I want to do. I'm chasing my dream. And I think, yeah, for them, it was like, but why? Like, why? Like, why like that? Why can't you maybe like have a part-time job and then like have some stability and go for it? So my the way how I went about it was maybe like very radical for them. So I guess in a sense, like, because I remember like growing up, my parents were always like very proud of me and were like, yes, we love what you're doing great, they're very supportive. But then for the first time in my life, having them not understand what I'm doing, um, that was tricky. So in hindsight, I was like, oh, maybe I was craving their validation. And it really took time to do quite some inner work for me to be completely okay not to be understood.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy I'm at that point now. Like I'm like really, it's not just being okay. Like I'm totally fine with it. Like it's fine. I can accept it, because I know they'll love me. I know they support me, whatever happens. But yeah, it took courage to really be okay with not being understood. um, so yeah, that was definitely part of my journey. When it comes to highest moments, wow, there are so many. But I think I'd like to highlight maybe like two things. So I think um, I always have like a massive high when I see my clients crush their goals. Like
Yeah.
it's just like like my favorite session is like the last session. Then we like review like the growth of like the client and like look at like the scores that we measured like throughout like coaching sessions. And then usually my clients often like exceed the goal that they set for themselves. And then when they see their growth, they're so happy. That makes me so happy. And
Yeah.
then we're like celebrating together, and it always makes me feel so happy, like so aligned with my purpose. It's just like it really makes me feel so alive and like, oh my god, this is why I'm doing it. Like it's so
Mm.
meaningful. This is related to my life purpose, and that I think is just so fulfilling. So yeah, definitely seeing my clients win. And the second thing, I think for me, this is also not one particular moment, but I love to travel and work from
Mm.
gorgeous places. I don't know, go to Bali, go to Thailand, wherever, where the sun is shining, beautiful co-working cafes, sometimes beach. And I just love having the freedom to travel and work from anywhere. And I remember, like, I'm so grateful. Like, literally, I'd be like sitting somewhere, and then I'll look around, and then I'll really think,
Mm.
like, oh my God, I'm so happy and so grateful that I chose this lifestyle and created it. Like, it makes me so deeply fulfilled. Um, so those are definitely parts of my highest moments. And to emphasize again, there are so many high moments.
Mm.
So it's not just one or two, which is great. But I think this really shows me that what I'm doing is very, very deeply fulfilling to me and is really helping me to thrive in life. And that's what we're all about, right? Thriving, thriving, thriving.
And I think,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think you just mentioned something that's so important. It's like, isn't life, I mean, yes, life is also about bookkeeping and doing like these boring tasks and growing and so on and so on, but like creating these beautiful moments of bliss, right? And that's like for you, it's like when you're traveling and you can really like, sit there and look around, see the ocean, see the beach, whatever you're seeing in front of you, right? And that's like creating, yeah, these beautiful moments of bliss. And that's, yeah, that's really beautiful.
Definitely, definitely. So, how do you, or is there like maybe a way how you would say you dealt with like the biggest challenges that came with your success story or with your journey of creating success and
Yeah,
getting into entrepreneurship?
I think that's such an important question. Like because it's when we change, right? When we kind of or not when we change, when we go through like transformation, when we go through growth, and whether it's on a business side, whether it's like on a personal side or whatever, there is always there is always, it's not always easy, right? And we've talked about it and everybody's felt it. I mean, I think it's also, if you look at like transitions from kids going from one school to another or whatever, like life is just full of challenges. That's what, it just kind of is. And it's like, and I think there are always like different kind of ways that how you can navigate these. And when I look at my own personal story, so for me, a lot of stuff changed in the end of my 20s. And I kind of really feel like I really woke up end of 20s. So it's kind of like before it was just like my life was kind of on autopilot. And I was like, kind of like, and it wasn't like there weren't high highs, low lows. It was just like flat kind of, and that's, which is pretty low if I look at it back now, but like whatever, and that moment was like kind of like that's my life, so kind of. And then with like, no, but there were high and low moments, of course, but still, anyway. But I really woke up with like the end of 20s. And when I look at that time, at first, of course, it was super, it just went into a very like, it was really, there were a lot of challenges because a lot of change was happening. I was like kind of transitioning from this, from being like in a long-term relationship to then like living on my own. I was transitioning jobs. I was like new friendship circles, and it was really, yeah, it was really like kind of like these like changing these old routines and creating new ones to create the life kind of that you wanted to have. And like through all these challenges, it really, like, I think the beautiful thing is I did a lot of the stuff very intuitively. I was talking to actually a friend just today, and kind of like to do it like in a way, it was a lot of stuff was very intuitively. So what I did is, or what really helped me to navigate like kind of this change and this loneliness and so on, is I first started building new circles because I knew, I was at home and I was alone, and I was kind of like, okay, I don't want to be home and alone. And, I'm a social person and I like people and I like going out. So it was like kind of like, okay, I need new circles. And it's not that I was like, okay, I'm going to sit down now and I'm going to look for new circles or whatever. It was, of course, kind of like, that's what I mean with intuitively. It was kind of like, hey, there's a meetup there, or there's an acquaintance that I don't know very well, but we kind of get along, and they're going for a drink, I'll just join, So it was kind of like seeking these new kind of circles, and then like really like then going deeper into it, like, hey, I like this topic, maybe I'm going to check out this, and so on. So I think that's like the first thing that like really helped me out of like being lonely and having all these challenges and so on, is like looking for like new kind of circles. And the other thing what I did is I actually really prioritized fun. So I also say responsible fun. It wasn't like I was like, oh, I'm going to go crazy now or whatever, but it was really like kind of, it was, it was a time where I was just like, okay, I'm sad and the life is challenging at the moment, and you know what, this is fun and not numbing, and of course there's moments of numbing because you're gonna drink till 4 a.m. and you're gonna go to a bar or whatever, yeah, and that's fine, and I'm thankful for myself that I did that back then. Of course it gets not good if you keep on doing it and keep numbing yourself, which I didn't do, but you have moments of like, of like a lot of fun. So that was kind of like, it really, it was good for me, and it was something to like, to kind of have this like, to prioritize fun. And fun doesn't only have to be drinking. It can also be a wonderful yoga class. It can also be like, creative outputs. It can be meeting you in the park and doing, yoga sessions or whatever. So it's really, so that's kind of like the different kind of like ways of having fun. And another thing that really helped me is, since I felt like I had nothing to lose, I was brutally honest with myself and with others. Not mean, not like direct or whatever, but just honest, because I didn't feel like I had to play this role anymore. And it really helped me, discover my authentic self, because I also felt like, I didn't have anything to lose. And I only had kind of myself, and I was building up like these new kind of ways, or these new circles and these ways of living and stuff. So it really helped me to be very honest to myself and to others. And another thing that I did, and that I did, I would say later, like not later, but like in the first phase, it was kind of like going out, meeting people and so on. But then I also transitioned into, okay, what is for me the deeper meaning of life? And, like, what is it? Like, what do you want to fill your life with? Like, what do you want to fill your time with? And that's kind of like where I really dug deep and asked myself, what like what contribution do I want to make? What is, what topics interest me? What are my, not just hobbies, but what are the things that I really like to do on a daily basis? And that, so that really helped me. It was kind of like looking for new circles, having fun, responsible fun, being honest with myself, and then just like digging deeper of like what is the meaning, or what is my meaning of life, not the meaning of life, because that gets really complex, but like what is my meaning of life. Yeah. How about you? Like, I know
I,
you also have a lot of like cool ways how you navigate, or how you navigated like loneliness and changing your life. And
yeah, I mean, I'm definitely happy to share, but just shortly wanted to mention I love everything that you said, and everything resonates so much. Yeah, we talked about the power of a support system during
yeah,
last episode, and that's it, right? If you're lonely, look for circles. Like, it
yeah,
doesn't have to be a difficult thing. Find people who can give you what you want at that time, and for you, it was maybe like being lonely, so people who can just hang out. Maybe you have a good conversation with. The second thing I love that, and I think it's really important to emphasize, because I hear that a lot from other people too. They're like, or from a lot of people, they're like not really truly. They might be successful. Their life looks successful on the outside. They're unfulfilled on the inside.
yeah,
And then you ask them what they do, and they're spending most of their time doing things that they don't enjoy. So if you're currently not enjoying your work, then at least outside of work, look for things that
yeah,
bring you joy. And ideally, of
yeah,
course, your work should also give you joy. But if you're not there yet, then definitely it's key. Find ways to appreciate moments in your daily life, right? It's not like, oh, once you reach this milestone, then you can smile and be happy. No, find ways in between as well. And also what you said, like becoming like more aware of how you want to live, like what you want to do, brings us back, I think, to the first episode about alignment, right? That is
mm,
always key to thriving. And I love how you also said your life changed a lot, like in your late 20s, and that's where a lot of changes actually happen. A lot of transformations were intentionally made by you. And I think speaking to a lot of more like self-reflected, conscious, more self-aware people, maybe there is always this journey, right? You always
yeah,
hear it. Yes, you tried out different things. At one point, were unfulfilled, and then became like like did the inner work, became more self-aware, and then find like what path is aligned with what they want. So I think this is a very classic story that and I love hearing other people's stories like that, because it's always so inspiring, because then you also get to hear like what excites them, what are they passionate about, like what brings them joy, how did they want to make this world a better place, essentially, right?
yeah.
So very fascinating. For me, I think what really helped a lot to deal with challenges was a lot of mindset work.
Yeah.
Not a surprise, probably coming from a mindset coach, but I'm someone who strongly believes that you create your own reality based
Mm,
on what you believe consciously and subconsciously, right? So there's always this bias, right? So if you believe you're going to fail, you're going to act like someone who's going to fail, you're probably going to fail. If
mm,
you believe you have what it takes, then you're going to succeed no matter how, you're going to get there at some point, right? Um, so I think mindset is always very important. And one thing that I realized was when I wasn't having this financial stability, and I was feeling kind of like low, like what if this fails? I finally found what I want to do. I want to be a coach, but I need clients. So I compared myself to like friends and others who had more income, who had more stability, and I really learned to not define my worth based on my external achievements or
cool.
income. And
Mm,
this really took a time, because I remember there was shame, like when I was looking at myself and comparing, and I was like, well, I'm already like, I don't know how old. Look at how the others are doing. Shouldn't I have reached my, I don't know, next 3 milestones already?
yeah.
Um, but it really helped to intentionally be like, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm doing what I want, and my worth is always there. Doesn't depend on my milestones or my income or how much other people make or anything else. So I think that was one of the biggest lessons that I learned throughout my journey. The second thing, gratitude, like
Mm,
really focusing on the abundance that I have instead of what I don't have yet, right? Because it's easy to get into this mindset or like this mode of like, I don't have this yet, I don't have that yet, right? But then when you focus on the lack, uh, it doesn't create this good energy that drives you forward. So what I did, and I intentionally shifted my focus on what do I have? I have so many incredible things. Like, I'm healthy. I'm healthy. Like, like these things that we're often
Yeah.
not grateful for because they're
Yeah.
so normal. Like, I can travel. I'm privileged. I have 2 passports. I'm doing what I love. And I never had to be afraid that I don't have enough money. There's like, I have amazing friends and family. So really gratitude was another thing that I really did, or practicing gratitude is something that I did much more intentionally as I went throughout my journey as of entrepreneurship, however you want to call it. The third is really feeding self belief and trust,
Mm.
especially as we've talked about before. There are repetitive highs and lows in entrepreneurship. You cannot stay on a high forever, right? And it's normal for self doubt to kick in, it's normal for fears to kick in. But then for me, it was really important to shift my focus back to I got this. Like, and just trust that things will work out. Like, deeply, deeply trust. Not just fool yourself, not just fake it till you make it, but actually believe in it. And and this was also one of the biggest lessons that I've learned throughout my journey. I think, like, my self belief and trust is very, very strong. It's like much stronger than it was before.
Mhm.
So I really love that. Like, I'm like, actually, someone asked me that the other day, like, what are you afraid of in life? What are your biggest fears? And I was
Mm.
like, I don't really have massive fears because I just
Mm.
believe that things will somehow work out. And
That's
I was like, wow,
beautiful.
I
Yeah.
probably would not have said this, like,
Yeah.
I don't know how many years ago, but I can be proud of that. So
Yeah.
definitely feed your self belief, feed your trust. And the last thing, because I've mentioned before that I felt like I was subconsciously kind of seeking my parents' validation earlier. And one of the biggest lessons for me was also to work on my mindset there and really to learn, as I've shared before, that the most important validation that I need is from myself. Because previously, when I had their validation and I had like financial stability and a stable job and whatnot, I wasn't fulfilled. But what did that get, but what is it worth if other people validate your experience and what you have and what you do, but you don't give it to yourself? It's not worth a lot because you're not going to be fulfilled. So, validating yourself, or for me, validating myself was one of the biggest things that I've learned throughout my journey. And really just to understand and be like, it's totally okay not to be understood by everyone, and it's normal. So not being afraid of that, and yeah, focusing on the love and support that I'm receiving. That's how, yeah, those I think are some of my biggest lessons that I have learned.
You know,
Now, hmm
I would love to hear from you in a second, what like success means to you today and how it has changed over time, because I think so many things that you just mentioned like came out of that as well. But I also wanted to say for a second, I love these 4 points and I wish we could make like a poster out of it or something, because it's really, it's really so important to remember these things, like not defining my worth based on achievements, right? Having gratitude for like all the things that you really have. And like you said, like this trust in life. And also I think the fourth one was like validation and stuff. It's so this would be so beautiful, like as a reminder always to have in front of you, because especially having gratitude for the things you have and like the trust in life is so powerful. Yeah, that's really, really, really beautiful. Yeah.
yeah, and these things are simple. They're not always easy to achieve, but
Yeah.
they're actually simple things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I think especially us being in our 30s
Yeah.
and like me, like I'm sure like you too, we talked to a lot of like self-aware people, conscious people, people who have changed careers, people who are like, I was not fulfilled, I'm following my dreams, maybe who have already achieved them.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of us, what I hear again and again is their definition of success actually changes over time, and I think
Hmm.
this is something that we want to touch upon during this episode. So if I should go first, like if you ask me, like,
Hmm.
what does success mean to me today? How has it changed over time? I would say when I was younger, I defined success mostly, I guess, based on external factors. So
Hmm.
you have a stable and good job, maybe you have a good title, you have a certain income. So which was primarily focused on these external factors.
Yeah.
I can definitely say that that changed a lot over time
Yeah.
because when I first achieved what I formerly viewed as successful, on the inside, I was feeling empty, I was feeling drained, I was feeling disconnected at one point, stressed, unfulfilled. So I thought I had everything, like other people would call like a successful life. But I realized it's not really worth anything if you're feeling like crap.
Yeah.
Like really, what is it worth? Like not much to me at least. And I also see this in friends or in people I meet or in clients over and over again. They have a life that looks successful on the outside, but doesn't feel amazing on
Mm.
the inside, and they're often unfulfilled. And that to me is no longer success. So now my definition of success is definitely much more balanced between like external and internal aspect of success, I would say, but really very much focused on the internal aspect. So for me, success means loving or liking what you do, doing something that is meaningful to you, purposeful to you, and something that you are excited or passionate about. So it's really about doing something that feels aligned with who you are, something that's aligned with your values and your goals or your vision, your dreams, however you want to put it. So it's really about making space for joy, creating from your own truth, and living in integrity with your values. So basically, to sum it up, I would say it's really about thriving in life, including in your professional life.
Hmm.
Um, and one thing that really changed for me was I used to like money. I think when I was younger was kind of, how would I say it? Like money was a big part of how I defined success. So kind of like an end goal. And now my perspective has shifted. Now money to me is not an end goal. It is a means. It's a
Yeah.
tool to experience and do the things that I want to, like traveling, have nice meals, go to a massage, like whatever it is. But money is not the goal. It's just a tool to experience the things that I want to.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't believe in success that feels like that doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
So success for me ultimately means that you are happy and satisfied with your life. How about you? Like, did your understanding of success also change over time?
Yeah, 100%. I think I can, yeah, I can agree with you exactly. It's the same thing because, and it's such a curious thing, right? If you think about like, why is it that our society is so why is that like this topic of money, of wealth, and like luxurities, and like, I don't know, fancy clothes and cars and so on, why is it so prevalent that, and for people like you said that do the inner work or kind of that go a bit deeper or whatever, that you understand that that's not what it is, right? And it's really yeah, for me it was the same. It's like all the cliches. It's like a high paying job, and yeah, all these, like, I don't know, like I said, like these societal cliches of what it looks like being successful, being a successful man or a successful woman, or whatever. And I, what I want to add to what you just mentioned, because exactly, it's really about like having, like, being able to do what you want. And it's really, yeah, to add that, for me it's so much of the whole like topic of having the luxury, and I'm purposefully using the word of luxury, of time, of being able to really use my time the way I want to use it. Yes, I still have to get up early because my baby wakes up early. Yes, I still have to go to this appointment because whatever that happens. But in general, most of the time, I get to choose what I want to do. And most of the time that I have, I really get to intentionally use. And that is such a beautiful and so a beautiful, important thing that most people don't have the luxury or have the privilege or whatever it is. And I think with this topic of time also comes like this. I kind of want to call it that I own my own mind. And I know that sounds a bit like abstract, but I think it's because I have the luxury of time. I'm not in this rat race of exhaustion of a job from 9 to 5, and then I still have to bring the kids to soccer or whatever, I don't know, and I just have this like exhaustion that I actually, I'm out of the system, and I'm able to, nurture my mind, and I'm able to kind of like make time to, have great grand ideas and work on my mindset, or yeah, work on, or just to be able to think that there is a life that's different. And I had a conversation with a lady I met her new the other day, and she used to be a nurse, And she was telling me like that when she was in the system of being a nurse, she was just constantly exhausted because she had day shifts, night shifts, weekend shifts, da da da. You come home, you wash your clothes, and you're just constantly in this like rut, and you can't get out. And she only got out of it once she went into parental leave, and it was the first time that she could actually. In parental leave is really exhausting because you have a kid, so you can see how exhausting it is to be a nurse. But still, she was like, this was the first time that her mind was free from like kind of like being trapped in this like nursing. And she loved being a nurse, and she loved helping people and so on. But it was really like, yeah, and what a luxury again to be able to own your mind. I'm just gonna call it that, to kind of like, yeah, to own your mind. And I think a third component of success for me is really being that you found something that you love doing, because that's also not typical. Most, like a lot of people, I whatever most or how many percentage doesn't matter, but a lot of people haven't found that yet. And that's such a, that for me it's such a success that I have found something that I really love doing. And you mentioned it before, and I always like to mention it as well, health. I mean, oh my god, I'm so successful because I'm healthy, you know. And there's so many people that like, yeah, that aren't healthy, so it's really, yeah. And last but not least, I think the aspect of money is absolutely important. And that's the way you phrased it, is exactly the right thing. It's a means, it's a way to create experiences, to keep your health, you know, and vitality, to create your own like time moments and so on. And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think also for me, like, because money, I see it as a means now to experience what you want. There is no um, how should I put it, like standard for success for me, because everyone can define it on their own. Like, if you want
Yeah.
to go traveling all the time and want to, I don't know, go to massages and eat out all the time, whatever, go to, you need a certain amount of money, then, and you do what you love and you make that money and you do all that, that can be your version of success. Someone might be happy with a smaller bakery and they
Yeah,
like staying in there, like it really
exactly.
depends. Like
Yeah.
success for me is no longer like an objective thing, or there is no objective standard. Everyone can create their own version of success.
Yeah. 100% agree. I love this episode. I think it's such a, you know what I really liked about it? I think like I could talk hours with you as
Right.
always, continuing, and I feel like we've just gotten like into this flow of like, okay, success and da 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 and so on, because there's so many beautiful like personal stories in here, and so many like beautiful side stories, and it is a big topic, right? It really really is. But we have to start wrapping it up. And we always love doing like a final exercise or like kind of like a mindset shift. And I know you've brought a beautiful one today. So yes, I would love to hear what you have for our beautiful audience. Yeah.
Yes. So, this is a very short exercise. So, this one is for you if you want to redefine success for yourself. So, this is really for you if you're not feeling very fulfilled in your career or in your life and you want to make bigger changes. Then hear me out. Maybe grab a piece of paper and a pen and do this with me. So, the main question that I want to ask you is, what does success look like? And really important, feel like to you beyond what you've been taught, like throw away all the ideas that you got from your parents, from society, from school, from university. This is really about focusing on yourself, finding out what success means to you. In order to help you answer this question, I have 5 sub questions that I think are very helpful to find this answer. And the first question that I think you should be asking yourself is, what do you want to do and why? And how can you find your answer if you're not sure right now? Then think about, what if you had all the resources you needed? You have all the time, you have all the energy, you have all the money. No one would judge you. No one, like, nothing could happen. Anything is possible. In a world where anything was possible, there's no limits, no expectations. What would you choose to pursue? And the answer, I think, will lead you to the type of work that you actually want to do. And answering your why do you want to do that work really connects you to your purpose. So it's really important because you need to uncover what feels meaningful and exciting to you. So ask yourself, what do you want to do and why? The second question I think you should ask yourself is, how do you want to work? Right? be really detailed. How do you want to work? Do you want to do physical labor? Do you want to sit in front of a laptop? Like, I don't know, like, how do you want to work? Do you want to work alone? Do you want to work with others? Do you want to be a lot of talking? Do you want to do a lot of problem solving? Like, how do you want to work? What works for you? So find your answers there and write it down. The next question is, when, with whom, and from where do you want to work? So we're getting deeper and deeper. Like, are you a night owl? Do you want to work like at night? Are you the morning person? Do you want to get up and just like start crushing it? Do you want to collaborate with certain people? Do you want to lead a group? Do you want to be part of a group? Do you want to go to office? Do you want to go to co-working spaces? Like, really think about, or who are your ideal clients? Really think about when, with whom, and from where do you want to work? The next question I want you to ask yourself is, how much free time, money, and impact do you want? Right? So some people might want to work, I don't know, like 40 hours or more even. Some people might just be like, oh, like 20 hours a week is enough. Like, what is your ideal time? Like, how much do you want to work per week? Like, really think about that, and also think about how much money do you want to make, so you can actually align those two. And what impact do you want to have, right? This will be connected to your why, the first question. And last but not least, the final question I want you to ask yourself is, and maybe this is one of the most important ones, how do you want to feel as you live it? Do you want to feel, I don't know, like excited, joyful? Do you want to feel peaceful? Do you want to feel, how do you want to feel as you work? Because as we've talked about it today, success is not, or doesn't necessarily just have to be based on external factors. It's also an internal experience. So really get crystal clear on how you want to feel once you, or when you work, or once you have succeeded. And I think answering all of these questions, or these set of questions, will help you to get much more closer to really redefining success for yourself. And once you have all these answers, I also want to encourage you and challenge you to ask yourself, what are you ready to let go of? Which beliefs, which ideas, which stories, which roles are you ready to let go of to make space for this new version of success? Because we've touched about it like a little bit during this episode, but really changing your career a lot, or like chasing your dreams, requires you to change on an identity level, like in a way, right? You have to make bigger changes. That means you have to let go of certain things, certain beliefs, certain fears, maybe relationships, whatever it is. So what are you willing to let go? Because it's inevitable that you need to let go of something to create space and energy for this new version of success. So yes, this is the exercise that I wanted to share with you, audience, today, and I hope it helps you to redefine success for yourself. And Mieke, do you want to share a little bit about our next upcoming episode?
Absolutely. And I also wanted to add, I think this is so beautiful because the this is something you can also do as a reevaluation, right? Even while you already have your idea, or while you're already in your business or whatever, it's something that you can always go back to, and you can always twist it and tweak it. And it's yeah, that's why I really, really like this exercise. Yes. So for our next episode, we are going to be talking about the permission to change. So the idea is that we are allowed to outgrow our old dreams and choose new ones. And often it's kind of like we hold on to these like goals because out of loyalty, or because like we set them in and we think we need to keep like continuing with them, but it's actually totally okay to outgrow that and kind of to choose a version that no longer fits you, because life has changed. So that's something we're going to be talking about next week. Yeah, and I'm very excited about it because there has been a lot of change also within my journey also recently, and yeah, I'll be sharing a little bit about that. And I know for you there's also always lovely change happening. So yeah, thank you. It's been a longer one today, and see you next week.
See you next week.
Okay.